Hi there, it's Beck here. I'm one of the teachers at AC Ingles and also a producer of the Into the Story podcast. Regular listeners will be used to hearing Bree's voice at the beginning of each episode, but today I'm here to introduce our two very special storytellers, Raül and Bree herself. Without giving too much away, I hope you enjoy the show. And let's get into the AC story.
AC Ingles presenta Into the Story, el podcast para aprender inglés con historias reales contadas por gente de todo el mundo.
The year was 2010. Raül was on his way to Australia to pursue a dream of living in a surfer's paradise. And Bree had left Canada and moved to Spain to do a year abroad after university. In this episode, we'll hear about the moment those plans changed and how their idea of building an English academy together became a reality.
We get the space and we're really excited. We hang posters everywhere. The whole town was covered in posters.
Yeah.
The first day comes and we have a lineup of students out the door.
In today's episode, Raül shares the memory of his childhood friendship with Georgina that sparked a curiosity in different cultures, English language, and Kit Kat chocolate bars. On the other hand, Bree tells us how she came to discover language teaching as an adult and how she dealt with criticism and feeling imposter syndrome as a young entrepreneur. This is not so much a story about AC, the business. Instead, it's a story about the couple who built it. We're calling the episode How to Get from A to C. Before we begin listening, let's talk about some of the vocabulary and expressions you'll hear Bree and Raül say. Firstly, a flat share. A flat share is an expression we use in English to describe an arrangement between two or more people living together in the same flat or apartment. You'll hear Bree talk about living in a flat share when she first arrived in Barcelona. Next, a locker room. Bree uses this expression, locker room, to describe the appearance of the first English academy that she and Raül opened. Lockers are those small, secured cupboards, una taquilla, where students or people at gyms keep their bags safe. A locker room. Exhausted. Exhausted is an adjective that we use in English to mean two key things. It can mean very tired, or it could mean that all your supply of something is used up. Se dice agotado en español. Next, imposter syndrome. This term describes a feeling of self-doubt or feeling like you're not intelligent or worthy enough to do something successfully. Many people often feel imposter syndrome when they first start at work. You'll hear Bree describe feeling imposter syndrome in the early days of running AC. And finally, go with your gut. This expression means to trust or follow your intuition or instinct. For example, you could say that when making difficult decisions, I often go with my gut instead of following the advice of others. And as always, you have a full transcript, vocabulary list, and listening comprehension activities on our website aceingles.com. That's la letra A, letra C, ingles.com. Okay, let's get into the story.
My story with English started when I was little. We had these neighbors who were an English family. They had this daughter called Georgina, and we became really good friends. So I spent a lot of time in their house. For me, everything was different. They brought Kit Kat it was such an amazing taste, and it was such a special thing that, something that didn't exist here. And suddenly you try a Kit Kat, and she gave me one, every 1 month or something like that, one bar of Kit Kat, not the whole package, right? And I was like, oh my God, this is the best thing I've ever tried in my life. Everything was so interesting, no? So I came familiar with all these things. They were speaking English all the time between them. I heard all the time, Georgina, lunch is ready, and they were speaking to me in English. All this little contact with not only culture but also the language changed something inside of me.
I have a background in engineering, working in construction with retaining walls and bridges, but I was always thinking about businesses, sales, marketing. One day, while I was doing this complex deep foundation calculation, I overheard the sales guy speaking on the phone. And I thought, I should be doing something like that. In 2009, during the crisis, I decided to take the opportunity to quit.
And I want to move to Australia. I thought it was a really cool country. So I go there for a few months, discover the country. It's an amazing country, amazing people. And then I come back to get my papers together. And I get invited to a dinner. I met Bree there. And everything changed.
I was living in a flat share. My roommate invited me to go to a dinner. And I get there and there's this guy there and he invites me to do a language exchange. So at this time I speak zero Spanish. And he comes up to me and he asks me my name, where I'm from, and if I'd like to get together sometime to practice Spanish and he can practice his English. My original plan of staying in Barcelona for 1 year, it quickly became apparent that it wasn't going to be just 1 year, and I was, in fact, going to stay. I was just a year out of university and I'd studied psychology because I think I always wanted to connect to people in a meaningful way. But for me, there was just a certain heaviness to that job. I remember getting home at the end of the day and being exhausted. So when I got a job teaching English, right away it felt like exactly what I was supposed to be doing.
Bree and I started talking about opening a business together really early in our relationship.
Yeah, I think that we're one of those couples who are just super different from one another.
Oh, yeah.
Coming from two different cultures, but I think it's also the fact that we approach problems from literally opposite angles.
That's true.
Which turned out to be very complementary to running a business together. I remember we were sitting down one day and we were making a list of what we're good at doing, but also what we like doing. And we decided to open an English school. And I think really the decision was made from one day to the next. We found ourselves looking for a little local, a little commercial space.
I don't know how to describe it. It was like a
locker room, basically.
Or like a shower.
Like a big shower, because it was all tile. And we thought it was perfect because it had a little reception and it had a classroom. We get the space and we're really excited. We hang posters everywhere. The whole town was covered in posters.
Yeah.
The first day comes and we have a lineup of students out the door.
Bree was there teaching and I was in charge of the rest.
At the beginning, I still had a full-time job during the day, and then I was at the school in the evenings. I remember one day getting out of work. It was like 11:30 or almost 12. I remember walking back home and cry because I couldn't handle it anymore. My body was exhausted. I decided to quit my job and start fully into AC.
I remember one day I was teaching in the classroom and I heard somebody come in the door and start speaking louder and then louder and then louder until I decided to come out of the classroom and see what was happening. And I saw the mother of two boys who had come and were trying to get English classes, but in the end we couldn't find a place for them in our schedule. And this mother was very angry. She said that we had basically left her without classes. And at this time, starting a new business, I think it's really normal to have this feeling that you don't belong and that you're not qualified and that it's not going to work out because you're not smart enough or talented enough. And she yelled at me, basically saying all of the things that my imposter syndrome was saying. And I took away from that early lesson that building a business, building anything, you put yourself in a very vulnerable position. But you have to have a thick skin and you have to believe in your project and do the best you can and move forward.
We start having more and more students. So we see that that little space that we had divided into two, we had to remove the reception basically. Then there was no reception, we had a problem, but there was another door in that little space that had a little hall. We said, let's make this hall the reception desk. The only problem was that the bathroom was behind. So students went to the bathroom and I was just there. So it was really embarrassing for me and for the students. And even more when new clients came to us and then they saw somebody coming out from the bathroom.
Eventually, we moved into a bigger school where we did a renovation. And this gave us a chance to create a school exactly how we wanted it. So all of the classrooms along that were exterior, they would be all glass, and the interior ones would also have glass so you could see from one room to another. And Raül also had clear that he wanted there to be a space where students could come in and they could drink a tea or a coffee.
Really, I thought about tea time at Georgina's house when I was little. That time of the day to slow down and connect. In a way, I wanted to engineer a space to give students a chance to live in English.
Our philosophy from the beginning was to learn English through classes, but also through living in English.
We started to have this dream of reaching people beyond Barcelona. We started creating video classes that were directed at Spanish speakers. We started building an online course.
In this new phase, 2020, we are now 100% online. I feel the same ilusión I had living next door to Georgina when I was little. That feeling of amazement at being able to connect with a different culture and a different language.
You just have to feel your guts and
Wait.
Follow your gut.
Go with your gut.
Follow your gut. You just have to go with your gut. Gut or gut? With your gut.
Guts is like gore,
yeah.
Whereas gut is more like doing.
Ah, really?
Okay.
So you just have to go with your gut.
That's all for today. We hope you enjoyed Bree and Raül's story of AC. Si te ha gustado este podcast y quieres apoyarnos, déjanos 5 estrellas en iTunes. Para conseguir la transcripción, vocabulario clave y ejercicios del episodio, visita aceingles.com. Thank you for listening. Until next time, we hope you have a good time, or at least a good story to tell.